Hi, everyone. Good morning and happy Monday. As always, if you wouldn't mind putting your name and affiliation into the chat as we're getting started, and we'll get going here in just a minute as a few more people uh, join the call. Okay, excellent. Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm David Van Sicklen. I'm the Operations Director at AMCC. Today, we've got a roundtable discussion at the start of Manufacturing Month. So I'm guessing many of you already had some events last week, this week, and in the next couple of weeks. So we'll talk about that and anything else that the group would like to discuss. So Matt, do you want to take over
Great.
for us?
Yeah, for sure. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Of course, this is our 30-minute check-in call every week, every non-holiday Monday amongst systems leaders in the broad and very deep American manufacturing ecosystem. Um, this is Monday, the 7th of October, and we have folks from all over the country, 11:30 Eastern Time, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, and 8:30 Pacific. So thanks for being on. Sadly, today's call falls on a first anniversary of a horrific violence a year ago. In another year of so much unnecessary violence abroad and at home, I think many folks here on the call know my background first in the United States Navy and then as a career prosecutor, working to maintain deterrence from those who would cause us harm. And deterrence is critical and important work, and yet it's insufficient on its own. We need to build, and that's what we're doing here, and you're doing as systems leaders from whatever perch you happen to occupy, strengthening the American manufacturing cornerstone in regions and across our nation. So setting an example about how diverse people can peacefully navigate the complexity is a super important task for peace and security and long-term prosperity. Complex, yes, for sure. But we're starting to get there, keeping our focus on the three things that we talk about every week here in one way or another. The first is prioritizing key manufacturing industries in regions, either defense, energy, transportation, agriculture, IT, and health. Those are key, and using existing and new technologies to do it. We have, there's a list in the Chips and Science Act. If you remember, there's a list of key technology areas. And of course, our friends in the Manufacturing USA Institute system, we have 17 institutes of innovation around different new technologies. 2 more are on deck. So there's lots important in that first kind of lens of what we need to do in manufacturing. The second lens, of course, is the big 6 about the ecosystem of support in each regional manufacturing community. In order to thrive, we've got to be doing sufficient work in all 6 of those areas. And we have a whole bunch of BFFs working on how to build an open source AI enhanced manufacturing community ecosystem metrics tool and playbook that anyone can use to assess their gaps and improve interventions. And that's interventions from whatever perch you happen to occupy. That's what the whole idea of collective impact and systems leadership is that we all have a role to play. And we're going to be talking about that and so much more. We have got our manufacturing momentum working session, etc., December 12th and 13th in DC. If you get an invitation and can be there in person, that's super important. If you can't be there in person, want to participate, the day 1, December 12th, will be virtual access. So there's going to be a lot of cool things. More to come on that. But having the regional ecosystem of support be clear about how it can improve is the second big thing. And then the third big thing is, of course, what are we shooting for? Our North Star is sustainable development, which is an affirmative phrase for what the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act says are our national challenges. And that's the law of the United States. that's our North Star. So we're getting at it, and we're an important part of that effort. That we've turned the ship of state in the right direction, so to speak, and so now we need to power it. And it's going to take a lot of good hard work working together. So. As David said, this is a roundtable call. So we want to hear from you. It's officially, whatever, Manufacturing Day. It was officially the first Friday of October. Manufacturing USA Institutes has a blurb, and so many others have a blurb about Manufacturing Day. And of course, because America in its beautiful diversity, they don't just say, well, a day is sufficient. It's a day, it's a week, it's a month, it's manufacturing year. Let's just keep it going. I mean, it's part of the storytelling, which on a previous Monday call, I know I talked about one of my mentors, Marshall Gans, who's at Harvard. He wrote a book just coming out this year about movement organizing and 5 best practices to organize systemic change. And really, the first two are critical around storytelling. One is about relationship building, and the second is around storytelling. And Manufacturing Day, week, month is important. We sometimes talk about how do we get to kitchen tables. So organizing best practices is critical, telling the story. And David's been collecting Manufacturing Day, week, month stories and putting them in the AMCC update. And for those new to the call, the AMCC update that comes out at the end of every week really goes with these Monday calls, and it's the biggest no-brainer ever to get that free open source newsletter out to your network so they can benefit. There's a bunch of funding opportunities in there, but also, discussions about cutting edge things. We have our podcast and so much more. Anyway, so let's talk about Manufacturing Day and cool stories. And maybe we can morph that with people who may be new or want to reintroduce themselves on this call. We've gotten into that habit for folks to talk about what's happening in their neck of the woods, and or if you're new, reintroduce yourself and talk about what's happening. So let's take a minute. Daniel, welcome from Los Angeles and Goodwill Industries.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, so
It's
this
going well.
story, this story is around the CNC Career Network. We were out here in Southern California, and we partnered with a LA school district, Hart District up by College of the Canyons, and we had about 300 or so high schoolers that came out and toured the advanced technical center over at College of the Canyons out here at JC in California, and to show off the industry and metal cutting and CNCs. And we had Fanuc robot arms and a robot dog, and virtual reality, and showed it off, and then gave them an opportunity to connect with the free tools of the CNC Career Network. And it's really the CNC Career Guide, and it shows them how to get informed on the career and how to get trained so they can come back and take their parents on a tour of the facilities, and then how to get hired. And it plugs them into all the different industry like Northrop Grumman and the various downlines of Northrop Grumman to get hired after they're done with their training. So it was a great success. We had roughly around 300 kids show up, and they all had a blast. So yay for Manufacturing Day. It's really fun to do fun events like that.
That's for sure. And Daniel, it's great to hear about connecting in with parents too, because
Yeah,
what we've learned on our AMCC roadshows and elsewhere, a lot of folks are saying that's a huge piece of the puzzle in terms of our storytelling, because of course they're advising their kids, what to do and what not to do, etc. Very
absolutely.
cool. Thank you, sir. Other stories about Manufacturing Day. What's happening out there? Or somebody just want to introduce themselves, reintroduce themselves. Yeah, please either raise your hand or let us know here. Or I'm going to start calling on people, right? So here we go. Let's see.
Matt,
Well,
you
we
got
got,
a hand raised
oh,
from Tony.
Oh, hey, Tony, welcome.
Hi, happy Monday, happy Manufacturing Month in Ohio. I actually had the pleasure, I got invited to do a Manufacturing Day talk with all of the stakeholders in the room. So we had industry, we had educators, we had local chambers of commerce in the room, kind of having the conversation about K through grade pipeline development in careers in manufacturing. So I think one of the things we often forget is we talk about how great the careers are, but we don't teach people how to frame the conversation. So I talked about how do we talk to kindergartners about manufacturing, and obviously you're not going to be talking about 401ks and benefits and time off and some of those different things. But we went through the different bands, K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and then in the high school bracket. But we also talked about diversity being just as impacted individuals and those neurodivergent, talking about uniquely abled project where I sit on the board and I've been on here as well. And I think the interesting feedback that I got back from these small manufacturers sitting in the room is I have my kids in my shop all the time, but I don't have that conversation. And it really is as basic as, is it organic or is it manufactured? Because that's two ways things are made. There's one or the other. So really kind of opening that conversation. And it was great. Just, people like, oh, I'm on the State Board of Education. I'm not even in manufacturing and I want to introduce you to people. So I think sometimes we feel like we're beating a head against a wall and we feel like we're not moving the needle enough. But it's sitting in the room and actually framing the conversation on here's how you can interact with a fourth grader and talk specifically about additive manufacturing versus subtractive. Let's take out the CNC, let's take out the industry jargon, and really make it simple. So it was a really good week. And then one more thing that people may not be aware of is that youth in the foster care system at the age of 14 create what's called the Emancipation Plan. And that's how they develop what's going to happen when they turn 18, which may or may not be with a high school diploma or GED. So this morning, I'm pleased to say my best friend of over a decade, who runs a program at Children's and Family Services, went to Magnet here in Ohio and had a tour with several deputies and said, why are we not putting this on for all of our college tours? So small moves. So now all individuals in foster care in Cuyahoga County, Ohio will not just tour Cleveland State and Cuyahoga Community College, but they'll tour Magnet and actually get a real view of what careers in manufacturing look like. I've asked that we start at 13. So at 14, they can write a true justification and emancipation plan highlighting careers in manufacturing. So the work we're doing may seem incremental, but the impact is huge. So just wanted to share those manufacturing month wins.
That's awesome, Tony. You're a dynamo, and so excited to have you a part of this and in December too. Thank you for your leadership there. Let me introduce Allie Judge, from Clean Energy Business Network. We've gotten to know Allie just recently. Welcome, Allie, and introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Allie Judge. Really great to meet all you all and connect with you all. I'm with the Clean Energy Business Network. So we're a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C. That helps support small and medium-sized clean energy businesses, as well as community organizations working in the clean energy economy. So recently we've gotten more involved with the manufacturing ecosystem as well. We were working on two prizes for the Department of Energy, the Make It Prize and the Community Energy Innovation Prize that has a manufacturing track to it. So we've been supporting some prize winners on both of those prizes to, they're kind of helping develop the manufacturing ecosystem in their communities. So we've been supporting them and have recently connected with AMCC over that. So really great to connect with everyone.
That's awesome. And you put, maybe you did already, if you put your info in the chat so people could learn more about CEBN, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Doug, what's going on? Doug Merrill?
Not much, just continuing to work on the Tech Hub, Vermont Gallium Nitride Tech Hub, we did not get our implementation grant, unfortunately, but working closely with the Microelectronics Commons and hopefully build to scale and some of our state legislators to get these building blocks in place. We're not really waiting for the next round of EDA funding. And so far, things look positive. So we're pretty excited.
Doug, that's such an important point, right? We have all of these competitions and only a certain subset get selected, right? And so one of the things we've been talking about for years, in these calls and elsewhere, is how you tap into other resources, state governments or philanthropic resources or counties or cities to keep that momentum going, and super important in terms of scaling the change that we want to do. So keep that theme going, Doug, for us. Help the community of practice do that. Push us, please. Super important. I see somebody's hand up at 6:02.
Actually, before I pass the baton, I've got one thing I want to mention.
Please, yes.
I was on a call. I was a little late to this call because it ran long, and maybe everybody's aware of this. I was just learned about it last week, but MathWorks, who runs MATLAB and Simulink, has an accelerator program. So if you run a business accelerator or a tech hub, and you sort of affiliate with them, there's no cost to it. Any of your members get access to a sort of a 1-year free subscription to MATLAB or Simulink as part of being a tech hub or an accelerator member. It kind of almost seemed too good to be true, but everything I've seen so far looks like this is what it is. So if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the accelerator program manager at MathWorks.
Great teamwork, Doug. Thanks so much. Yeah, hand up, area code 602. Who's that?
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
My name's Evan Tokatian. I'm a student in economic development at Cleveland State University. I just want to join the call because I'm trying to get more involved in kind of the network and build connections. I've also reached out to the Reindustrialized conference that was in Detroit. One thing I wanted to bring up that where I see a lot in economic development is kind of a lack of available space, and also kind of sometimes community resistance to consolidating space. So, oftentimes there's a perception of manufacturing as, dirty and dangerous. And how do we as a community overcome that kind of perceived bias?
Yeah, it's a good point. Dave and I were just talking about that before this call, about the importance of storytelling, but also, and Daniel talked about it earlier, about getting into the manufacturing spaces of the 21st century. David, who was it you were mentioning that was that had really done an interesting it was Sally Hanley, right? In Peoria, Illinois. Is Sally on here? Sally, if you're on
I'm here, Matt.
Oh yeah, can you talk about how that has been, important so people can see with their own eyes, parents and students, whatever, about it's so
Sure.
different now. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And actually, that's what I was copying our logos. We just had our Career Spark, 9 years of bringing together educators and 8th grade students into our Peoria Civic Center for a 2-day hands-on event to expose them to all types of our industry clusters, from manufacturing, healthcare, transportation, and hospitality. So to be able to bridge that gap and make them aware. And then later this month, we will take high school students to the manufacturing plants, again, along with educators, to showcase companies like Caterpillar and Morton Industries, to show them the floor. So the premise is to start in 8th grade, and we work with junior achievement, program that, get them the exposure, and then follow up with those students in high school and bring them into the manufacturing plants. Again, just bridging that, and then also working with the CTE programs and make sure they're aligned with our industries. So I'll drop those in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah. And so, Evan, way to go, way to reach out, way to be on offense on this thing. I mean, we need the next generations to really get hot for it. It's a great growth industry, so to speak, but super important to the American project. If we don't get the cornerstone of manufacturing smarter products that solve problems dialed, we're going to have a tough time in the 21st century. So that's the good news, is we've turned the ship of state in a good direction. We now have some momentum around creating consistent bipartisan industrial policy in the United States, but it's going to take a village to keep the pressure on and to improve it and deliver outcomes. And so that's what these calls are about. That's what the AMCC update, that is a really easy thing to distribute amongst your network, seems like the biggest no-brainer there. I mean, we get lots of good stories back about folks that just the money part of it. David goes through all of the federal opportunities and he updates that thing periodically so that you can share that information. We've had a lot of great success stories coming out of people getting that and morphing that into a funding stream. But back to Doug's point, it's not going to be just the federal thing. It's going to be states and locals and philanthropy and really kind of rejiggering our existing organizations to be more collective impact oriented, which isn't easy, right? Folks are so siloed. One of the great strengths of America, of course, is our federal distributed system, and yet it's also, a challenge to authentically weave those things together so people can deliver for their silo, their organizational silo, and their job responsibilities, but also deliver to what are objectively, important common good outcomes. And so that's what this good hard work is about. We had just in this AMCC update, is several other just examples this week, I think. Oh, by the way, the AMCC update, is put on our website. So previous editions you can check out. Same thing with these calls. Previous calls are recorded and put on our website. But David has been putting Manufacturing Day, week, month events there, and they all have really interesting tactics about doing taking advantage of that storytelling opportunity in October. Washington State, I think I see one from Washington State. They do a bus tour around the country. Utah's got a couple of events. Illinois, of course, we just talked to Sally. Tennessee's got some cool things going on. Connecticut, who wants to raise their hand or chime in about some cool manufacturing storytelling events that you got going on?
I'll jump in one more time. This is Daniel Weirman again, CNC Career Network. One of the things that we did is we took local school folks, but then also local nonprofits, charter schools, and we brought them through San Bernardino County to show off the middle school, high school to CNC training center, and then out to industry training model that San Bernardino has. And it was just such a great event to show people that don't even understand what manufacturing is, but then show them what's going on in kinder classrooms, teaching these little kinders, they call them littles, how to program these little robots that run around on the ground. And then in middle school and high school, working with Minecraft tools so they can start to understand CAD CAM and ZY axis and programming little video games. And they were just making little dowels on 3D laser printers. And it was just so cool to see these 9-year-olds so interested in manufacturing, and to know that as soon as they grow up and graduate, they'll be able to jump right out into a tech center and train the hard CNC skills, and then right out into industry right after that. And we just did that about a month ago. And I'll extend it to anybody on this call. If anybody wants to take that tour to see how a whole district works with nonprofit and the actual school district and industry, to see it all happen, I'd be more than happy to host anybody to show it so you guys could copy it where you're at. But that was a really big, cool story.
Thing we could do is have you on a Monday call and get, do 10 or 15 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Daniel, that's an opportunity. So much good stuff, you guys. There is, we're doing this. Tony Neary at SME on this call was just talking about the importance of framing. So David and I are going to be. The state of California is trying to, like many state governments, is trying to lead on manufacturing. We're doing a workshop. 160 people from around the Golden State are showing up from sub-regions around California on Wednesday. And Tony, we're going to be doing the framing, right? Around what we've been doing here. and they're very excited about, you know, figuring out how to have more agency from whatever perch they happen to occupy within these subregions of California. It's very cool. Hey, Buckley, I see you came on. You guys had a really important report. We only have a couple of minutes left, but can you talk just briefly about that report, of course, because we're evidence-based, right? And here's a chunk of evidence that could be useful to stakeholders around the country. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put a link to the report in the chat. We go out and do 420-minute interviews with manufacturing executives across Wisconsin every year. It's the fourth time we've done it. We follow it up with 5 focus groups. All of the data is in the link, but 3 quick things for you. In Wisconsin, anyway, the workforce market is softening. There are fewer people that say it's very difficult to find employees right now. And there are fewer companies that have openings, and those that do have openings have fewer openings. So if you have followed all that, but they're still leaning into technology, still leaning into automation to get the most out of the workers that they do have. You know, and when they're talking about the economy, they're going economy to inflation to wages very quickly. So their concerns about inflation were all around wages. And then finally, just on AI, last year we saw, you know, 72% of manufacturers say, I don't want AI. I'm not touching AI. I'm never going to do anything with it. We've seen that number come down from 72% to 59%. So a little bit more uptake on AI. Always happy to discuss any details of that anybody's interested in.
And thanks so much, Buckley Brinkman, honchoing the MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership in Wisconsin. The willingness to share information that's going to be helpful to other regions is really kind of breaking this bad 20th century cycle of race to the bottom from different states and whatnot. And so thank you for being a great model and example of that. We only have a couple of minutes left. John Betts, I saw you come on. You want to say something?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I just want to let everyone know that in addition to that great Manufacturing USA event in Detroit last week, Automation Alley had their Integrate Summit last week, also in Detroit. And we published our playbooks for the different pillars of digital transformation. So I want to put the link into the chat, and if anyone wants to download it, it's great. It's free. It's wonderful content. And the #1 state for downloading copies of this is California. So you might want to give it a read on the plane before you get out there, because other people out there are reading it.
Awesome, John. Thanks for being on and sharing that important information. That is very cool. We'll check it out. Let's see. David, what's on deck? We've got just another minute. Just give folks a preview of what we have for next Mondays. Yeah.
Definitely. Just a quick reminder, we won't be having a Monday call next week for Indigenous People / Columbus Day on the 14th. Then on the 21st, we'll have the Century Foundation and Urban Manufacturing Alliance coming on to describe some of their new cohort projects that they're working on. And then on the 28th of October, we'll have Bernie Lynch and Michael Cook, who are both with the SCORE Consortium. This is a Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program award. They'll be talking about a chemical process occupational competencies credential program that they spun up out of this award for automation training and credentialing for critical mineral recovery. So they'll be talking about that. And then the first week of November, it looks like we'll have Shaylin Giotishi from New America come on to describe some of their work that they're doing with their Community College Accelerator program. So that's what we've got on deck. And there are many Monday calls open in November, December, and into the new year. So if anyone on the call today would be interested in reserving one of those Mondays and coming on and describing the work that you're doing, please just send me a message. It's very easy to reserve a Monday call. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, David, and thank you all. We're at the top of the hour as we try to stay right on time. We really appreciate your good hard work out there. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful 2 weeks, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. All right, thanks all.